Here we go.
Streaming live via the internet. Welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver internet via fiber optic, wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. Chat live with us weekly via ispradio.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technologies, providing ISP consulting, support, and hardware for wireless ISPs. TowerCoverage.com, providing online RF coverage maps. And now your host for ISP Radio, Steve Grabiel and Dennis Burgess.
Welcome to another edition of ISP Radio. I'm your host, Steve Grabiel, and I'm broadcasting my part of the show from the office in Moriarty, New Mexico, and Dennis Burgess is producing and broadcasting from St. Louis, Missouri. So, how's it going out there, Dennis?
Cold.
I hear you.
That's the easiest word to put it. We had a front come in a day or two ago, and it just got cold. We're going to be in the low teens overnight, barely above freezing, maybe mid-30s or so during the day. But that's okay. Consulting services that much. People done. A lot of people out there right now, they're not doing it. They don't like to do installs during the winter and back-end processes. Something I wanted to bring up before we get into today's session was a recent issue that we had. Not an issue, but something important. How's that? Was we had a client that they built a network, and the network was all good, real neat and everything like that. But they didn't really put any type of monitoring into it. Now, monitoring, of course, is important. But the other thing they never did is they never actually sat there and built a network map. And it sounds dumb, but the thing that we found was inside their NOC, and this is not like all their towers and things like that. This is just inside their NOC. They had dual ISPs. They had a server farm. They had all this kind of stuff, but they didn't have enough information. And because of that, because they didn't actually draw the diagram out, they never actually sat there and thought, well, do we actually have redundancy or not? And what ended up happening was, no, they actually had like 4 points of failure, 4 individual points that if one device, piece of hardware or software or something like that went down, they had no way to dynamically or automatically fail to that other system. And I know it doesn't sound too terribly much, but 4, one I think is too many in many cases, but in their case they had 4 points of failure that they had to have, and they didn't have backups for, or they actually had to go and move a physical cable. It's one thing if you can do it remotely. That's one thing, and it still requires manual intervention, but you can log in anywhere and do it. But this was literally they had to go move a cable, or they had to go do something. And a few cables later, in a few configurations later, it wasn't really much, we had ability to bypass 99.9% of that very quickly and effectively. So whenever you look at that, one of the things I always say as far as consulting goes is, hey, we really need a good network map. And not only on top of that good network map, I don't care about every single thing, but on all your core infrastructures, routers, switches, etc., we should know what cable goes where to, from what port to what port. And that's really, really important, because as you start deploying and changing things, especially if you're not hands-on or you're not physically there, we're relying on that documentation for us to really go, oh, this is exactly what we need. So just keep that in mind when we look at doing network maps if you don't already have one.
Yeah, documentation is absolutely king.
Very, very important. Documentation is one thing, but like I said, that having that network map, it sounds really dumb, but that network map is really, really important.
Yeah, especially if you're going to call for outside help to look in.
Yeah, I mean, for us anyway, it's very important. But the big thing in this case was the customer didn't even realize it. Mm-hmm. They're there every day, and they could walk over to their server room and move a cable, but they literally did not realize that they had that. And of course, as soon as the boss found out, he about went off the deep end. But it's the way it works. So just keep that in mind. How's that?
Yeah. Well, on today's show, we've got Ivan Kohler. He's the president and head geek of Freeside. internet services. Ivan, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Ivan.
How's it
Hey,
going?
thanks. Good. Thanks for being on the show today to talk about what you guys do at Freeside for ISPs. Um,
I'm more than happy to be here.
you bet. And can you tell us a little bit about the history of Freeside and yourself?
Sure. Freeside was originally written for a dial-up ISP, which was the only kind of ISP back in the mid 90s. Um, a couple of years later, company is concerned, I started providing product in 2000, and the company was incorporated in 2005. These days, we have 8 guys in the support and development departments that help folks, get the software installed and working for them, and help our bigger customers extend the software for things that they want it to do.
So where are you located at?
I'm personally in Lake Tahoe, California. My employees are all U.S. based, but we're a distributed company, so um, everywhere from California to Washington to Pennsylvania to upstate New York.
Gotcha. So is there any snow in Lake Tahoe?
Oh, well, we're getting feet and feet on the way, starting in about 6 hours. Can't wait.
Awesome. So let's go into Freeside. You've got a product that's for billing, ticketing, network monitoring, and customer service, and you have the ability for retailers to jump in on this. Tell us a little bit about Freeside.
Sure. The software has a couple of main functions. The two biggest pieces of functionality in the software are billing and customer tracking, where you track your customers, you bill them, you track the services they have and so forth, and trouble ticketing, where you do all your support ticketing and handle all your support calls and truck rolls and scheduling and anything that needs to be tracked in that way. And then there's also modules in there for things like scheduling, network mapping, network monitoring, and other things that we. Two big parts are the billing and the trouble ticketing.
Gotcha. So we've got your screenshot here. Can we go into a little bit about what sets you aside from your competitors?
Sure. The two main differences between us and our competitors are, first of all, our license. Every single other competitor in this space has some kind of licensed software based on the number of subscribers you have, and we're open source like Linux or Android, so you just pay us for services to make use of the software. There's no royalties or anything like that. In terms of the functionality of the software itself, we've been working on this stuff for a long time. A lot of people look at the interface and think it looks, not too flashy, and they don't realize that, we've been working with ISPs for 20 years and adding the features that they want us to add, and there's a lot of, different functionality in there. Everything from quotations to provisioning to integration with 100 different kinds of VoIP services and switches. Voice is one area in which we are especially strong compared to our competitors in the WISP space. We actually go out to the voice shows and compete with the voice billing and operational systems, and none of our competitors in the WISP space do that. So what we found is that providers who have a voice component to the billing that they need to do, but are also an ISP and don't want to go up to a telco billing system, that's been a really sweet spot for us, and a what would you call it, competitive differentiator compared to everybody else.
Well, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but with Ivan Kohler with Freeside Open Source Software for Business.
In the WISP do that. So what we found is that providers who.
Yep, we're working on it here. Yeah, our our complete stream just completely like died and went off into La La Land. But it's not a big deal. We're back. Things happen. So here we go. We're gonna get his screen share back up. Ivan, I do see your screen, and are you still in the audio?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you. So we are back live. I just moved your screen share over. So we were talking right when you stopped. Was the you were talking about how you integrate with VoIP products, unlike the other VoIP namespace in other competitors.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody has a different amount of different kinds of features that they support. But many years ago, we started integrating with different VoIP switches and doing VoIP billing. And now that's a pretty big pillar of our business. We go to the voice shows. We're actively looking for customers in that space. So unlike most of our competitors in the WISP space who may do some amount of voice billing, we're actually out there competing with the low end telco billing systems and winning business from them. So that's a pretty strong feature set for us in terms of.
What are some of the challenges that someone like me, if I wanted to get into the voice business, what are some of the challenges that the competitors features they don't have that you do that make our lives easier as people wanting to get involved in voice?
We have integration with a large number of trunking providers, E911 providers, switch providers. We do all sorts of advanced billing like minute groups, toll-free billing. We do billing for some of our customers who are not necessarily billing minutes, but billing things like SMS. What else? So for someone like for someone like yourself, who's a small ISP who's looking to get into voice, the two things you would be looking to do are one, make sure your network is engineered to carry this traffic. You have to just like the Skype call, and then the other thing for someone of your size, I would say a reseller arrangement would probably with somebody doing hosted would probably be the best way to sort of dip your toes in the water, start picking up customers, and then when you have the revenue to justify it, you may want to go to some kind of on-premise system. The two big vendors here in our space that we see at all the shows are, of course, NetSapiens and Epiphany. Those guys both have fairly pricey on-premise systems that it's not set up an asterisk box and you're good to go. But I would say in doing VoIP, it's very easy to get started as a reseller of hosted service. That gets your customers on your voice service. It gives you a more full offering when you're going to businesses. You can offer them connectivity and PBX and the voice services that they need. And one thing that we saw a number of years ago, and both myself and many of the voice providers thought would pick up business, was that if you would declare that you provide both internet and voice to the FCC, then they would not subsidize a competitor in your area. And at the shows, we were all out there telling people this, and I remember, Steve Karan and Chris Toomey getting out there a lot about this. And now we're seeing that funding come in, and ISPs are saying, well, why is this happening? We told you years ago you need to offer voice, and that will prevent subsidized competitors from that will prevent the government from subsidizing competitors in any area that you declare that you can provide both internet and voice.
Ah, that's good to know. Yeah, something I didn't know. So the special sauce of yours is the ability to bill correctly all the percentages and everything that like I see on my cell phone bill, it's basically that's your special sauce, if you will, to properly bill people and then properly get the reports that you would pay to the federal government and the state government and whoever else has got their hand in your kitty, right?
Right. What in the voice space? What just it, of calls or expensive calls? Reporting what you owe, just like there's an FCC 477 report for internet providers. Voice providers are filing an FCC 499 report, and similarly, we can generate the data that's used to create that report easily for our customers doing voice.
Aha. So you had mentioned hosted versus having your own box. Is that what you guys do? You can do hosted versus buying our own box?
So if you're talking about a voice system, obviously we support wherever you locate your systems. You put your systems in the cloud, you put your systems on premise, we integrate with them. If you're talking about the Freeside system itself, we're pretty much entirely on premise. We either log into your box remotely and set up the software, or we ship you a piece of physical hardware, and then you put that on your network and run it from there. We do have a hosted option for a small number of people, but given that
on the free side, right?
Right, on the free side, like if you want us to host it for you, we will. We now offer that because it's 2016 and there's some demand for it. But most of our business has been with folks who are looking for a premise system, and there's lots of folks who that's a deal breaker. I mean, I don't think it should be, but if that's the reason they want to use us, and that's fine. We're happy to offer that option.
Right. Does your billing system is it IPv6 capable?
No, we're not currently doing IPv6 tracking.
Any plans on that coming forward?
Yeah, we're planning on adding that capability pretty soon, along with more advanced capabilities for plant tracking. So tracking where all your equipment is, what's in each of your racks, how it's wired together, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's on our medium-term roadmap for next year. And so when that comes in, it will have full IPv4 and v6 capability.
Kind of like what Dennis was talking about with the documentation component of your network.
Right. So one thing we see is that a lot of customers, when they realize they're outgrowing, their ad hoc processes, they start to do extensive documentation. And I'm not at all, not at all bagging on that practice. But what we see is that you can take a lot of manual documentation, but if you don't put that data in any sort of structured format, then you hit a very similar problem to where you didn't have enough documentation, to where your documentation is just notes, not actual data you can make use of. So sort of the next level beyond having good documentation on your network would be to actually use a tool like this to document your network in a structured way, in data that a computer can understand, rather than just documenting it in an ad hoc way for yourself.
Right. So your product, does it have the ability to see where your towers are on a map?
Yes, that's something we added this year, was the ability to show your towers on a map, as well as plot coverage from those towers in a similar fashion to the tower coverage product that Dennis's company has. Let's see here.
I can say maybe we might want to just go through the whole demo for all the listeners that are online and going to watch the video later. Maybe just have you go through your normal product demo.
Exactly.
My normal product demo is I just talk to people and show them what they want to see.
Gotcha.
But let me see if I have a couple of screenshots of the tower stuff we're talking about here. Let me pull one of those up on the There we go. There's my ugly face, and let's see if we can get a screenshot of the software for you.
I can say we have Ivan now.
There you go. Here's an example of a couple of different towers mapped out, and then one of the towers we're showing a coverage estimation from that tower. This is a true RF coverage estimation, like tower coverage, not a view shed or a line of sight coverage map. And so got a couple of screenshots here, similar things where you can take a tower and show the coverage that you would expect to have from that tower. We can show, if you take a look at this shot here, we're showing a number of subscribers, some of them up, some of them down. So these are all features that have been somewhat recently added, and not a lot of folks are familiar with.
Can you show us a little bit about how your ticketing system works?
Sure. Let me just get back into the live browser. There we go. So from any customer, you're able to track the trouble tickets that they've submitted. From any trouble ticket, you're able to go back and look at the customer that submitted that trouble ticket. So having those two systems connected gives you useful history rather than a ticketing system in its own silo that doesn't know about your customers or your customer data.
Yeah.
So here's an example of, oh, this ticket doesn't even have a name. We'll go in here and edit this ticket and give it a subject. So here's an example of a trouble ticket that might have come in. Your techs can work these tickets either from the web interface or directly by email if they're used to working just by replying to email. The ticketing system can be hooked up to their email, and they can get their messages by email and reply by email. Or you can use the web interface to have a discussion. Send the customer what you think might fix their problem. That's then sent out to the customer by email and is also available to the customer on their self-care site. If they have submitted the ticket on the self-care site and they're reading it there, they don't necessarily have to correspond by email.
Right, right. So you mentioned self-care site. Can you show us a little bit what the client would see?
Let me see if I have that running for you on this demo here. I don't have that installed locally. Let's see if we can look at the public one. There we go. So this is a pretty basic example of what the customer-facing interface would look like. Usually what we'll do for someone is we'll skin this for their website. We'll put their HTML header, footer, CSS, their colors on here. So we try to keep the stock site pretty basic so it'll fit into anything. The customer can do things like, as we talked about, take a look at their existing trouble tickets. They can make changes to their services. They can change their passwords. They can make a payment by credit card. If you've given them mailboxes or some other kind of service that they can set up themselves, they can go in and add and remove and change the passwords for their mailboxes.
So your software allows the client to pay for more without even having to bother calling our office, right?
Right. The software will allow the customer to go in and make an immediate payment Once the card is processed, you can then take action on that. For example, if the customer was suspended and they go in and they make a payment, that can unsuspend them automatically and they can be given access to the internet again. So self-care is something that as ISPs grow, it your main cost is people, and so anything you can do to get your customers to sort of have a culture of self-care rather than a culture of calling for everything, that saves you money.
Oh, absolutely. But back to my question, from what I'm seeing here, these people could, if they have a 5 meg account and you offer a 10 meg account, they could turn that up themselves and it would auto process and their card would be hit and they would be getting the 10 megs.
That's
for
correct.
Example.
They could do an upgrade, and we would hit their card for the upgrade. We could update radius as soon as their card goes through, and they could get the higher speed tier right away again without having any human intervention necessary.
That is so cool. What about, I mean, can this integrate with the self-care integrate with like an email service if you offer it? Like I offer email to my customers. They could be able to log into it and change their, well, they can do that anyways now. That's on the email server, but does this integrate with that third-party email application?
Yeah, we integrate with all sorts of different kinds of email servers and services. Anything from a classic self-hosted postfix or database type setup to your mail providers. Google, everyone.net, OpenSRS, cPanel, Magic Mail. We can go in and actually take a look. Let's see here. Let me take a look at some of the different different things we integrate with. So, for example, everyone.net is a mail provider. We integrate with Magic Mail. For those people running their own mail servers with SQL backends, we integrate with those. For people running more old school, mail servers with just text files, we integrate with those. So generically, if you just want to go to your mail server and run commands to add and remove your accounts, you can do that. So there's a large number of ways you can integrate with any kind of mail service out there, pretty much.
Cool. Part of the issues I have is when I was running QuickBooks, we would have people not pay and their credit card would be expired, and we would never find out that till later, and then they owed us $300. Does your system have the ability to, if they don't pay by a certain date, they get redirected to a payment portal page saying you forgot to pay your bill, please pay your bill, and then once they pay it, they can get their internet back on?
Absolutely. So you would define your own business rules for when you would decide at what point a customer is behind enough to get suspended. And then once you've defined those business rules, if a customer goes that far behind, the system will automatically suspend them. It can send them a notice. It can also send them a notice prior to suspension about their expiring credit card.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And one interesting thing about expired credit cards is that most merchant account providers will not be able to bill those cards, but a small number of providers can bill expired cards for our kind of business where we're doing recurring payments.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if you have IP Pay, you can continue, and a customer has an expired card, you can typically continue to bill that card even if it has a new expiration date that you don't have. So that kind of eliminates the any of the work in the first place. But for customers of lots of other reasons, their credit cards go bad. They cancel them. They don't have credit, that kind of thing. And so when you're doing that kind of collections, you can set up your rules for uh, uh, how long a customer is past due before you decide to suspend them. You can send them notices beforehand. You can even go so far as to, you know, 30, 60, whatever you'd like your rules to be after that. You can even go so far as to cancel them automatically.
Mm-hmm. Um, Hopping around here, can you show us some aspects of network monitoring that Freeside does?
I don't think we have anything configured in the demo here, unfortunately.
Okay, but you guys do all SNMP and all that stuff. We just have to create the device types, or do you have a bunch of device types already built?
We don't have as many device types, especially specific to our industry, as maybe like a dedicated monitoring software would be. But we do have the ability to talk to anything with SNMP and pull any of the values that are exposed by SNMP. And then uniquely to us, because we're integrated with the billing system, we're then able to take that data and do 95th percentile and volume billing on it if that's desired. We can also just display that data, for example, on a customer record. You might show the bandwidth, signal strength, or whatever values are exposed by SNMP for each specific customer.
Right, for tracking, if a radio turned, you can clearly see where it did turn.
Exactly. So a lot of folks are not necessarily using the network monitoring for generating billing data, but just for generating, troubleshooting data for each customer.
Right, right. What other features? What other features do your clients ask for that seem outside the box? I really like the in the self-care center where the people can upgrade their own bandwidth at their will.
Uh, wow. I mean, people ask for all sorts of things. Our large customers tend to focus on things that automate their business more.
Right,
Especially WISP customers, tend to be interested in, um, uh, extensions and features that help them do prospecting, help them with tower mapping, help them with network troubleshooting, um, features like that. Recently, let's see, we've done an extensive integration with Cacti for some of our WISP customers. They had existing Cacti network monitoring systems, and they weren't terribly interested in switching to our internal system. And of course, being open source, we'd like to integrate with anything, and we don't want to force people to do things a certain way. So we integrated with Cacti for a bunch of those customers.
mm-hmm.
Trying to recall what else we have, what other big projects we've done recently. Oh, one of our customers who's having a lot of problems with excessive usage had us add both per customer and a general overview report on usage. Uh, I don't think this will, yeah, there's not enough data in the test system for this to come up with anything.
You bring up a good point. Do the clients in the self-serve service area, do they have the ability to see what kind of data they're pushing
Yes,
in
so
a graph?
in the self-serve area, the clients can't currently see a graph. They would see their sessions and the upload and download of those sessions and the total over a month, and any charges for overage if you have the overage charges set up. Um, Graphs are certainly a feature we could add to just showing them their text usage.
Right, right. Yeah, that's so you mentioned that you do have the ability to bill on a per bit basis or an all you can eat or some mix of that, right?
Right. So it historically has not been terribly popular. It's something we wrote for. Historically, it's something that was written and supported for overseas clients, especially Australia, New Zealand. Customers down there have always had metered internet. Um, but these days, you're seeing this much more common domestically as well, among small ISPs. So what we're able to do is um, specify download, upload, or transfer limits um, for a product, um, and then you can specify overage for that. We can there you go. We're doing usage charges from radius. We can do charges based on hours, upload, download, some combination of those, and then you can have an overage charge. You can cap your overage charges. These are all things that we've developed based on how our customers come to us and say they want to charge for usage.
Right. Another question. So a customer calls in and they've been getting the email saying, hey, you got 3 days to pay your bill, and they call in. Is this an automated feature within the customer care? Can they reach out to the client, to the ISP, and say, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late. Can you extend me some grace? Does your software, one, have the ability for the customer to do that on their end, or with an approval, we get an email saying they want to extend their grace, then we determine if we want to or not? Or do you have the ability to where you could extend grace and not have their circuit shut off if they don't fall in the standard operations of how you operate?
So we do have the ability to sort of make exceptions to a suspension policy. It would be called a promise to pay date. So in our system, you would set a promise to pay date, and then that could control delaying a suspension until then. There was no specific features in the customer self-care to request something like that. I mean, the customer can always contact you and ask for it. You can read their request and then set it up in the system. But there isn't a sort of a special contact about this thing specifically in the self-care. The backend supports it, and so it's something you can do for your customers who
right, that call in.
They call in or they email in. You want to give them an extra week or two.
Is there a contact us page that ties into your ticketing system in the customer care? Say they're not down, but they have an issue with their email or something. They obviously have internet, and they can get to the customer care center. Is there a place where they can send you a ticket, and then it logs it as a ticket so you can respond to it?
Yep. So if you take a look at the screen share, they can go to the create a ticket section there. They can put in their subject and their message. That will then create you a ticket in the ticketing system, kick off all of your notifications that get kicked off whenever you have a new ticket, and then you and your techs could then reply to that ticket, work whatever issue the customer is having, and then take it to a resolution.
And can the client see the thread of conversation inside their customer care area here, or their self-service area, all the way till the closeout of the thing? Because that's really helpful. People call in. Well, you didn't respond. Well, look at the thread of communication we had with you.
Exactly. They can see the complete history of all the tickets that they've put in.
Gotcha. That's good. Dennis, you got any questions about Freeside?
No, I'm fairly familiar with it and such, so I don't see any questions. I did take a look, and I don't see any questions on our website as of yet, so it does happen, but so I think that's where we're at. I'm pretty good on it.
Ivan, you got any other cool features that Freeside has? Now, let me get this straight. You got Freeside as ISP billing, and then you have another product for voice. Are they two standalone products? Are they all one? How does that work?
It's all one product with different features to integrate and bill for different things.
Oh, so it's kind of Freeside, and then you have modules that you add on to do what you wanted to get done, right?
Yeah, everything's in there. You don't necessarily have to add on the modules so much as set it all up. So voice billing is more complicated. You've got to bring in a feed of your usage data called CDR data. You've got to possibly do some amount of mediation on that, and then rate all those calls and present the toll calls to the end customer on their bill.
Yeah.
But no, rather than having any kind of separate add-on module that you would buy or install separately, um, uh, everything is in the base software, and you just use what features are the ones for your business, and you ignore the ones that you don't need.
Right. So let's talk about costs. You mentioned that you can host, but you prefer selling a box. Can we talk about what I presume you guys build a box and then could ship it out, or do we buy a box and then you drop your operating software on it and then we go that way? Let's talk about how we get set up with Freeside if we're interested.
Sure. So we're a software company. I don't care how we get you our software. If you want to buy it on a physical box that you can treat as an asset and put as physical property on your balance sheet and get a lease for, we'll sell you and ship you a box. If you want to set up your own physical or virtual box and have us log in remotely, we'll do that. And I have absolutely no reason to prefer one of those over the other. They're entirely just different ways for us to get to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
We treat them pretty much in terms of the service we give them. One person we ship hardware to, one person we start by logging in remotely, but we'll do all the exact same things. We're not going to be upset you didn't buy our hardware. It doesn't matter to us. We want you to run our software, and we want to help you with it.
Right.
So
that being said,
Mhm.
and you mentioned earlier that a lot of your competitors bill you on a per subscriber basis, and you pay some sort of monthly fee for that per subscriber. How does Freeside work?
So Freeside is open source. It's free for everyone to download and use at no cost. Just like Linux or Apache or lots of other software you guys are familiar with. If you'd like our commercial help with the software, and we certainly hope you would, that's the whole reason that we're able to continue working on it and employ people full time to write it. Then you can, like we were talking about, you can buy it from us on a box. We'll ship you a box, and that will be supported for the first 12 months. Or you can buy a service from us where we log in remotely and get everything set up in the software for you, perhaps do a little customization of it. And again, that's a flat rate, and that includes support for your first 12 months.
And is
After
that paid
that,
per month or annually?
The initial setup is a one-time cost, and then after that, we can do support contracts either monthly or annually.
Uh-huh.
The support contract would be tied to the amount of service you want from us, rather than the number of subscribers or employees or the number of companies even that you want to run in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just want updates and sort of the insurance to call somebody if something blows up, you can take our smallest support contract at $195 a month, and you can run an unlimited number of customers on that. If you wanted a larger support contract with us that includes some customizations to the software, phone support, 24/7 emergency availability, things like that, you might step up to one of our contracts that's, for example, $800 a month.
Right. Well, Ivan, how do people get a hold of you if they're interested in the Freeside services you guys offer?
It's pretty simple to find us. We're at freeside.biz online. You can email me at sales@freeside.biz, or you can click on the contact link on the website and go from there. I'll pull that up for you here on the screen share.
Aha. Excellent. Well, Dennis, any questions on the chat?
No, sir, I did not see any.
Any other tidbits of information about Freeside before we wrap it up, Ivan?
Let's just take a look and see if there was anything we didn't take a look at that we're excited about telling people. We looked at the billing. We looked at some of the ticketing. Um, might be worth taking a look at what an invoice looks like.
Sure.
It can be presented in both HTML and PDF. There's a number of different options. Right in the stock software, you can have or not have a tear-off coupon. You can have summaries, notes, and then beyond that, we often do custom invoice typesetting for people who want something that looks exactly like an existing invoice, or they'd like to have design something in a word processing program and give it to us and say, make our invoice look like this.
Oh, let me ask you this. Do you guys integrate with a third-party mailing company? Because some of my customers, they don't want to, I have to mail them, snail mail their bill, just like the power company sends everyone their bill. Do you have the ability to do that within your software? Or do you have a third-party integrator?
Yeah, we currently offer that ourselves at a cost of $1 an invoice. And obviously, I'm not, stuffing envelopes myself. That goes to a third party.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that that's an add-on service that some of our customers use to just print their invoices through us.
Right, right. That's about all I can think of. It sounds like you've got it pretty well covered. I like the voice over IP integration that you seem to have hammered out from what your competitors are not quite there yet.
Yeah, we've been really focused heavily on that market. We went to an Astricon trade show, started working with Asterix, and then branched out to working with other kinds of open source switches and PBXs, and then these days we integrate with anything from Broadworks and Taqua, NetSapiens, Epiphany, on down to your one-off Asterix box.
Right. Well, cool. I want to thank you for being on the show. Even though we had a little bit of technical difficulty, we got through it because you and Dennis are whiz bangs on the computer. We're working on the next up and coming shows, working to talk with Elizabeth Bowles and talk about a legislative update, as well as other people what we've talked to at the Wispalooza, getting them onto the show. So with that, Dennis, you got anything else to wrap up with? Any 477 info or Wisp America stuff you want to share?
Well, I mean, the Wisp America stuff, I think everybody knows about that. I'd have to pull up everything. It's up in March here coming up. Definitely, its sign-ups are already going on. You need to book your room as quickly as possible. All that needs to happen March 14th through the 16th in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm sure everybody will be there. The dates, just so everybody knows, for our Wispapalooza 2017, which is way in October of next year, have been posted. It is October 9th through the 12th. In Las Vegas, as it always is. There is no sign-ups yet or anything like that. Pretty much everything will happen after the Wisp America and those particular things. Other than that, we are, of course, always looking and working on other shows. If you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for shows, make sure you email us at support or sales at ispradio.com. That way we can get those and hopefully see if we can get somebody to cover that topic, if that makes sense. Other than that, we're pretty good here. Everybody needs to stay warm during these summer months, and I hope everybody has a good holiday, of course.
Summer months, winter months, bro.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, I mean, summer months are coming.
All right. Well, I want to thank Ivan for being on the show, and thank you, Dennis, for producing the show. Go ahead and wrap us out, Dennis.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.